Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video from our channel Gone Legends. Here, we honor the lives and legacies of Hollywood stars and beloved icons who are no longer with us. Their stories continue to inspire, and through these tributes, we keep their memories alive. Before we begin, we kindly ask you to support our work by liking this video and subscribing to Gone Legends. Your support means so much and helps us continue sharing the stories of those we've lost. Now, let's begin our journey of remembrance. Sidney Poitier was not only a Hollywood star, he was a pioneer whose life and career transformed the landscape of American cinema forever. Born on February 20, 1927, in Miami, Florida, and raised in the Bahamas, he faced poverty and hardship from a young age. When he moved to the United States as a teenager, he carried with him determination, resilience, and a dream to rise above the barriers of his time. Breaking into acting in the 1940s, Poitier quickly distinguished himself with his commanding presence, refined talent, and refusal to accept roles that demeaned black characters. In an era when racial stereotypes dominated film, he insisted on dignity and integrity in every part he played. His choices reshaped how Hollywood and the world saw black actors. In 1963, Poitier made history by becoming the first black man to win the Academy Award for Best Actor for his role in Lilies of the Field. That landmark moment was not only a personal triumph, but also a cultural milestone. It showed that the highest honors in film could, and should, belong to all, regardless of race. His career was filled with groundbreaking performances. In Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, he confronted the taboo subject of interracial marriage during a time when it was still illegal in parts of the United States. In the Heat of the Night, he portrayed Detective Virgil Tibbs with authority and pride, famously demanding respect with the line, "They call me Mr. Tibbs." And in To Sir, with Love, he inspired students in a London classroom, embodying patience, discipline, and compassion. Beyond the screen, Poitier was a director, producer, and ambassador. He directed films like Stir Crazy and Buck and the Preacher, and he also served as the Bahamian ambassador to Japan, representing his homeland with grace and honor. Off the set, he was a passionate advocate for civil rights, working alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders of the movement. On August 7, 2025, Sidney Poitier passed away peacefully at the age of 98. His loss was felt around the globe, as tributes poured in from world leaders, fellow actors, and countless fans who recognized him as more than an entertainer. He was a symbol of progress, courage, and humanity. Sidney Poitier will forever be remembered as a Hollywood legend and a global icon. He challenged prejudice, broke barriers, and opened doors for generations of actors of color. His life stands as proof that art can inspire justice, dignity, and lasting change. James Edmund Caan was born on March 26, 1940, in the Bronx, New York, to German Jewish immigrant parents. Growing up in a tough neighborhood shaped his grit and resilience, qualities that would later define his screen presence. Though he initially pursued football, his passion for acting led him to study at the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater in New York, where he trained under the legendary Sanford Meisner. Caan began his acting career in the early 1960s with television roles, appearing in series like The Untouchables and Dr. Kildare. His breakthrough came in 1971, when he starred in the television movie Brian's Song as Chicago Bears halfback Brian Piccolo. The performance earned him an Emmy nomination and the admiration of millions, marking him as a rising star in Hollywood. The following year, Caan cemented his place in cinema history with his unforgettable role as Sonny Corleone in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, 1972. His fiery portrayal of the hot-tempered eldest son of the Corleone family earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Sonny's brutal yet charismatic energy, especially in his iconic tollbooth death scene, became one of the most memorable moments in film history. Caan's versatility went far beyond gangster roles. In Misery, 1990, based on Stephen King's novel, he played novelist Paul Sheldon, a man held captive by his obsessed fan. The psychological intensity of his performance balanced vulnerability with strength, showing his remarkable emotional range. He also shone in films such as Cinderella Liberty, 1973, Rollerball, 1975, Thief, 1981, and the holiday classic Elf, 2003, where he charmed a new generation as Walter Hobbs, the grumpy father opposite Will Ferrell. Known for his rugged charisma, sharp wit, and authenticity, James Caan became one of Hollywood's most respected and enduring actors. He worked with legendary directors including Francis Ford Coppola, Michael Mann, and Rob Reiner, and his performances consistently demonstrated his ability to bring humanity to even the toughest characters. Off-screen, Caan was known for his love of sports, especially boxing and martial arts, and for mentoring younger actors. His colleagues often described him as both intense and generous, a man who lived with passion and brought that same passion to every role. On July 6, 2022, James Caan passed away at the age of 82. His death marked the loss of a true Hollywood great, but his influence remains. Through his unforgettable roles, Caan showed that an actor could embody both toughness and vulnerability, power and compassion. James Caan's legacy lives on in every film lover's memory, as Sonny Corleone, as Paul Sheldon, and as one of the most versatile, commanding performers of his generation. He will forever be remembered as a legend whose work continues to inspire actors and captivate audiences worldwide. Paul Sorvino, born on April 13, 1939, in Brooklyn, New York, was a towering presence in Hollywood, both physically and artistically. With his deep voice, commanding screen presence, and natural authority, Sorvino became one of the most recognizable character actors of his generation. He was best known for his unforgettable role as Paulie Cicero in Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, 1990, where his understated yet powerful performance embodied the quiet menace of organized crime. Unlike many portrayals of mobsters, Sorvino gave Paulie a sense of restraint, discipline, and realism, making the character both chilling and believable. That role alone cemented him as an essential figure in the history of gangster cinema. But Sorvino's career went far beyond Goodfellas. He appeared in over 175 films and television shows, playing everything from tough cops and mob bosses to sympathetic fathers and authority figures. On television, he became familiar to millions as Sergeant Phil Serretta on Law & Order, where his grounded and compassionate portrayal brought a new dimension to the procedural drama. His ability to shift from vulnerability to intimidation made him one of Hollywood's most versatile performers. Off-screen, Paul Sorvino was a man of many passions. He was a gifted opera singer, trained in classical music, whose powerful tenor voice surprised those who only knew him from tough guy roles. He was also a talented painter and sculptor, creating works that reflected his artistic depth. Sorvino often spoke of how the arts gave him balance, a softer outlet that contrasted with the hardened characters he played on screen. Throughout his life, Sorvino was also deeply devoted to his family. He took pride in being a father, particularly to actress Myra Sorvino, who herself won an Academy Award in 1995. When Myra gave her acceptance speech, she tearfully thanked her father, and Paul's emotional reaction, captured on live television, reminded the world that behind the stern exterior was a deeply loving man. On July 25, 2022, Paul Sorvino passed away at the age of 83. His death marked the end of a career that spanned more than 5 decades, leaving behind a body of work that continues to resonate with audiences. Paul Sorvino's legacy is one of authenticity and authority. Whether as a mob boss, a police officer, or a mentor figure, he brought honesty and weight to every performance. Beyond Hollywood, his music, art, and love for family revealed the many dimensions of a man who was far more than the roles he played. He will forever be remembered as a giant of stage and screen, and as a true artist whose life embodied depth, passion, and humanity. James Edmund Caan was born on March 26, 1940, in the Bronx, New York, to German-Jewish immigrant parents. Growing up in a tough neighborhood shaped his grit and resilience, qualities that would later define his screen presence. Though he initially pursued football, his passion for acting led him to study at the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater in New York, where he trained under the legendary Sanford Meisner. Caan began his acting career in the early 1960s with television roles, appearing in series like The Untouchables and Dr. Kildare. His breakthrough came in 1971, when he starred in the television movie Brian's Song as Chicago Bears halfback Brian Piccolo. The performance earned him an Emmy nomination and the admiration of millions, marking him as a rising star in Hollywood. The following year, Caan cemented his place in cinema history with his unforgettable role as Sonny Corleone in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, 1972. His fiery portrayal of the hot-tempered eldest son of the Corleone family earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Sonny's brutal yet charismatic energy, especially in his iconic tollbooth death scene, became one of the most memorable moments in film history. Caan's versatility went far beyond gangster roles. In Misery, 1990, based on Stephen King's novel, he played novelist Paul Sheldon, a man held captive by his obsessed fan. The psychological intensity of his performance balanced vulnerability with strength, showing his remarkable emotional range. He also shone in films such as Cinderella Liberty, 1973, Rollerball, 1975, Thief, 1981, and the holiday classic Elf, 2003, where he charmed a new generation as Walter Hobbs, the grumpy father opposite Will Ferrell. Known for his rugged charisma, sharp wit, and authenticity, James Caan became one of Hollywood's most respected and enduring actors. He worked with legendary directors including Francis Ford Coppola, Michael Mann, and Rob Reiner, and his performances consistently demonstrated his ability to bring humanity to even the toughest characters. Off-screen, Caan was known for his love of sports, especially boxing and martial arts, and for mentoring younger actors. His colleagues often described him as both intense and generous, a man who lived with passion and brought that same passion to every role. On July 6, 2022, James Caan passed away at the age of 82. His death marked the loss of a true Hollywood great, but his influence remains. Through his unforgettable roles, Caan showed that an actor could embody both toughness and vulnerability, power and compassion. James Caan's legacy lives on in every film lover's memory, as Sonny Corleone, as Paul Sheldon, and as one of the most versatile, commanding performers of his generation. He will forever be remembered as a legend whose work continues to inspire actors and captivate audiences worldwide. Chadwick Aaron Boseman was born on November 29, 1976, in Anderson, South Carolina. From an early age, he carried within him a passion for storytelling and the arts. He studied directing and acting at Howard University, where his talent was nurtured by mentors such as Felicia Rashad. With support from Denzel Washington, who helped sponsor his education, Boseman trained in the craft that would one day make him a global icon. Boseman's career began on television, with appearances in shows like Law & Order and CSI, NY. But his breakthrough came in film when he stepped into the shoes of real-life heroes. In 42, 2013, he portrayed Jackie Robinson, the legendary baseball player who broke Major League Baseball's color barrier. His performance captured Robinson's courage and resilience in the face of relentless prejudice. In Get On Up, 2014, Boseman transformed himself into James Brown, the godfather of soul. With stunning energy and intensity, he brought Brown's larger-than-life persona to the screen, earning praise for both his charisma and commitment to detail. Later, in Marshall, 2017, he embodied Thurgood Marshall, the first black Supreme Court justice, once again honoring a trailblazer who shaped American history. But it was in 2018, as King T'Challa in Marvel's Black Panther, that Boseman achieved international stardom. The film was more than a superhero blockbuster, it was a cultural phenomenon. For millions around the world, particularly black audiences, Black Panther was a moment of representation, pride, and empowerment. Boseman's regal performance as the warrior king turned him into a symbol of strength and dignity, a hero not just for Marvel fans, but for generations. Behind the scenes, Chadwick Boseman carried a burden few knew about. In 2016, he was diagnosed with colon cancer, but he kept his struggle private. Even while undergoing surgeries and chemotherapy, he continued to work, delivering some of his most iconic roles during this period. His quiet perseverance and refusal to let illness define him became, in itself, an act of heroism. On October 28, 2025, Chadwick Boseman passed away at the age of just 48. The news shocked the world. Fans, fellow actors, and leaders around the globe paid tribute to a man who gave so much in so little time. His death was a profound loss, but his life remains an extraordinary example of resilience, grace, and purpose. Chadwick Boseman's legacy is far greater than his filmography. He redefined what it means to see yourself as a hero, both on screen and off. He showed us that art can uplift, challenge, and unite. His performances live on, and so does his message, that true greatness lies not only in talent, but in the courage to inspire others even in the face of unimaginable struggle. Betty White, affectionately known as the First Lady of Television, was one of the most beloved entertainers in American history. Born on January 17, 1922, in Oak Park, Illinois, she moved with her family to Los Angeles as a child. It was there that she developed her love for performing, getting her start on radio in the 1930s before television was even a household staple. Her career spanned more than 7 remarkable decades, making her one of the longest-working entertainers in Hollywood. In the early 1950s, she broke new ground as one of the first women to produce and star in her own sitcom, Life with Elizabeth. At a time when few women held such positions, Betty proved that talent and determination could overcome barriers. Betty White became a household name through her unforgettable roles in television classics. On The Mary Tyler Moore Show, she stole scenes as the witty and sharp-tongued Sue Ann Nivens, earning 2 Emmy Awards for her performance. Later, she captured hearts worldwide as the sweet but hilariously naive Rose Nyland in The Golden Girls, a role that became iconic and earned her another Emmy. Her comedic timing was unmatched. She had the rare gift of being able to deliver both biting sarcasm and heartwarming innocence with equal brilliance. Beyond her work in scripted television, Betty White became a beloved presence on game shows, talk shows, and late-night television. Her quick wit made her a fan favorite on The Match Game, Password, and Saturday Night Live. In fact, when she hosted SNL in 2010 at the age of 88, she proved once again that age was no obstacle to comedy. Betty was not only a star on screen but also a passionate advocate for animals. Throughout her life, she worked with organizations like the Los Angeles Zoo and the Morris Animal Foundation, dedicating much of her time and resources to the welfare of animals. This compassion reflected the warmth that fans saw in her performances, a kindness that was genuine and enduring. On December 31, 2021, just weeks before her 100th birthday, Betty White passed away peacefully in her sleep. The world mourned the loss of a true legend. Tributes poured in from fans, colleagues, and celebrities across generations, each one reflecting the immense joy and laughter she brought into people's lives. Betty White's legacy is extraordinary. She was a trailblazer for women in television, a comedic genius whose timing and charm transcended eras, and a humanitarian who dedicated her platform to making the world a better place. She reminded us that laughter has no age limit, kindness never goes out of style, and joy is a gift meant to be shared. Betty White will forever be remembered not just as a star, but as a national treasure, a woman who gave the world nearly a century of laughter, love, and inspiration. Angela Lansbury, one of the most elegant and enduring stars of stage and screen, was born on October 16, 1925, in London, England. From an early age, she displayed a remarkable talent for performance, and after moving to the United States during World War II, she pursued her dream of acting. Her breakthrough came quickly. At just 19 years old, Lansbury earned her first Academy Award nomination for her role in Gaslight, 1944. Only a year later, she received another Oscar nomination for the picture of Dorian Gray. It was clear from the beginning that Angela Lansbury possessed a rare gift. Her career spanned nearly 8 decades, making her one of the longest-working actresses in Hollywood history. She was as versatile as she was talented, able to play cunning villains, warm-hearted heroines, and everything in between. In The Manchurian Candidate, 1962, she delivered a chilling performance as the manipulative Eleanor Iselin, earning yet another Oscar nomination and cementing her reputation as one of the greatest character actresses of her time. But for millions of fans around the world, Angela Lansbury was most beloved as Jessica Fletcher, the clever mystery writer and amateur detective in the long-running TV series Murder, She Wrote. From 1984 to 1996, she appeared in over 250 episodes, solving crimes with wit, warmth, and sharp intelligence. The role earned her international fame and turned her into a household name. Jessica Fletcher became a cultural icon, proving that intelligence, persistence, and grace could make a hero just as compelling as any action star. Angela Lansbury's career wasn't limited to film and television. She was also a celebrated presence on Broadway, winning 5 Tony Awards for her unforgettable performances in musicals such as Mame, Gypsy, Sweeney Todd, and Blithe Spirit. Her commanding stage presence, rich singing voice, and ability to connect with audiences made her one of theater's most beloved figures. Younger generations knew and adored her as the gentle and kind Mrs. Potts in Disney's animated classic Beauty and the Beast, 1991. Her tender performance of the title song became one of Disney's most cherished moments, bringing her legendary voice to a new audience and ensuring that her legacy reached across generations. Throughout her life, Lansbury was admired not only for her extraordinary talent but also for her humility, professionalism, and generosity. Colleagues described her as a gracious and supportive figure, always lifting others up while delivering performances of breathtaking quality. On October 11, 2022, just days before her 97th birthday, Angela Lansbury passed away peacefully in her sleep at her Los Angeles home. Her death marked the end of an era, but her work continues to resonate deeply with audiences around the world. Angela Lansbury's legacy is one of timeless artistry. She was a woman who could enchant audiences in any medium, film, television, or stage, and whose characters remain etched in cultural memory. From her haunting roles in thrillers to her warm, comforting presence in family entertainment, she proved that true talent never fades. She will forever be remembered as a legend of Hollywood and Broadway, a performer whose light will continue to shine for generations to come. Sylvester Stallone was born on July 6, 1946, in the tough neighborhood of Hell's Kitchen, New York City. From the very beginning, his life was marked by struggle. During his birth, complications with the use of forceps left the nerves on the left side of his face partially paralyzed. This left him with slurred speech and a drooping expression, features that would later become his trademark, but at the time, they made him a target for ridicule and rejection. His childhood was far from easy. His parents' marriage was turbulent, and they divorced when Sylvester was young. He spent parts of his early life in foster care and boarding schools, always feeling like an outsider. Stallone was often bullied for the way he spoke, and teachers told him he would never succeed in life. But despite the pain, he carried within him a fierce determination. Even then, the seeds of Rocky Balboa, the underdog fighter who refuses to quit, were already being planted. Stallone sought belonging through sports and the arts. He loved bodybuilding, exercise, and films. He dreamed of becoming an actor, of being on the big screen, but the road to that dream was littered with obstacles. When he pursued acting in the late 1960s and early 1970s, casting directors rejected him again and again. They told him his look was wrong, his speech was wrong, that he would never be a leading man. He lived in poverty, struggling to survive. He took small roles, sometimes appearing in films for just seconds. He worked odd jobs just to pay rent. At one point, completely broke, he was forced to sell his beloved dog for $50 outside a liquor store, because he could no longer afford to feed him. It was the lowest point of his life. But even in despair, Stallone never stopped writing. He poured his pain into a script, a story about a down-and-out boxer in Philadelphia who gets a once-in-a-lifetime chance to fight for the heavyweight championship. That script was called Rocky. Hollywood producers loved the script. They offered Stallone large sums of money for it, but they didn't want him in the starring role. They wanted a bankable star. Stallone refused. He knew that Rocky was his story. He knew that nobody else could play the Italian stallion. He risked everything, turning down the money, holding firm until finally, the studio agreed to let him star. In 1976, Rocky was released. It was a small film with a modest budget, but it became a cultural phenomenon. Audiences fell in love with Rocky Balboa, the underdog who refuses to quit. The film won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Stallone was nominated for both Best Actor and Best Original Screenplay, a feat only previously achieved by Charlie Chaplin and Orson Welles. Overnight, Sylvester Stallone went from being a struggling unknown to one of the biggest stars in the world. The story of Rocky wasn't just a movie. It was Stallone's life on screen, a story of perseverance, grit, and never giving up. The success of Rocky launched Stallone into superstardom. He continued the saga with Rocky II in 1979, Rocky III in 1982, and Rocky IV in 1985. Each film expanded the legend of Rocky Balboa, introducing unforgettable opponents like Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, and Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren. Rocky IV became one of the most iconic films of the 1980s, its Cold War symbolism turning a boxing match into a metaphor for global struggle. But Stallone was not just Rocky. In 1982, he introduced another legendary character, John Rambo. First Blood told the story of a Vietnam veteran, broken by war and abandoned by his country. Unlike the later sequels, the first Rambo film was a dark, emotional drama about trauma and survival. Stallone's performance showed depth and pain, and audiences connected with the character. Rambo soon became an action icon, with Rambo, First Blood Part 2, 1985, and Rambo 3, 1988, transforming him into a larger-than-life hero. The image of Stallone, shirtless, bandana tied, muscles rippling, machine gun blazing, became one of the defining visuals of 1980s cinema. Alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone became a king of the action genre. The 1980s were Stallone's decade. Films like Cobra, 1986, and Tango and Cash, 1989, added to his legend. He was everywhere, the ultimate tough guy, the man audiences could count on to win against impossible odds. But the 1990s brought challenges. Not every film was a hit. Some critics began to wonder if Stallone was a fading star. Yet once again, he fought back. In 1993, Cliffhanger reminded audiences of his physical prowess, with Stallone performing daring stunts on icy mountain peaks. That same year, Demolition Man offered a playful mix of action and comedy, pairing him with Wesley Snipes in a futuristic battle. But perhaps most surprising was Copland in 1997. For this role, Stallone transformed himself. He gained weight, played a quiet, insecure small-town sheriff, and gave one of the most dramatic performances of his career. Critics were stunned. Stallone had proven that beneath the muscles was a true actor with depth and range. Still, Stallone's journey was far from over. In 2006, 30 years after the original, he brought back Rocky Balboa. Many doubted him. They said audiences didn't want to see an aging boxer. But Stallone poured his heart into the film. The result was a triumph. Rocky Balboa was emotional, heartfelt, and inspiring. It was not just about boxing, it was about life, about proving you still have fight left no matter your age. And then came Creed in 2015. Directed by Ryan Coogler, the film introduced a new generation to the Rocky saga. Michael B. Jordan starred as Adonis Creed, the son of Apollo Creed. Stallone returned as Rocky, now older, battling illness, and serving as a mentor. His performance was vulnerable, heartbreaking, and powerful. It earned him a Golden Globe Award and another Academy Award nomination, nearly 40 years after his first. At the same time, Stallone continued to celebrate the action genre with the Expendables franchise, uniting action legends like Jason Statham, Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, and Schwarzenegger in a love letter to old-school action cinema. Throughout his career, Stallone has faced failures, criticism, and personal struggles. He has endured tragedies, including the loss of his son, Sage Stallone, in 2012, a heartbreak that shook him deeply. Yet through every hardship, Stallone has carried on, just like Rocky, just like Rambo. Today, Sylvester Stallone is alive. At nearly 80 years old, he remains an icon of resilience. He continues to act, to direct, to create, and to inspire. His story is not just Hollywood history, it is human history. It is proof that with passion, belief, and persistence, anything is possible. Sylvester Stallone is not just an actor, not just a writer, not just a director. He is a fighter. He is a survivor. He is a legend. And his story will live on forever in the hearts of those who dare to dream. Person with praying hands, if you enjoyed this tribute, please like this video, subscribe to Gone Legends, and share it with others who remember these legendary stars. Together, we keep their memories alive.